Happy New Year, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Happy New Year. Hope you all had a great time.
Just want to do a massive shout out to all of our patrons who have stuck with us and been with us through this crazy year that 2020 was. It's now 2021, so new adventures, new experiences, new challenges, everything.
Lots of stuff. And also everyone else that supported us in different ways. There's lots of people, you all know who you are, so thank you very much for supporting us in each and every way that you have done this year. It's been fantastic, so thanks very much. If you want to join the crew, we're going to put a link up at the top there, so click on that to find out other ways you can help us out for the next 2021.
We hope you enjoy this video, guys. We've moved over to our friend's boat. We're going to be working on some Osmosis blisters, lots of stuff with the peeler.
Yeah, it's good to help Stephen out, who's helped us out. So what goes around comes around. So it's time for me to get the elbow grease in and give a bit of a hand to Stephen. So thanks, Stephen, and let's get your boat done.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Erica, and this is my fiance Davy. We are living aboard our new to us hurricane damaged catamaran, Barefoot 2.0. We met in Fiji 3 years ago and have experienced so many beautiful places together. For the past 2 years, we've made the ocean our home, starting on our Catalina 36 in the States and the Northern Caribbean. We hope to one day circumnavigate the globe, but for now we are fixing our boat one step at a time. Subscribe to our channel to follow our journey. When faced with a challenge, look for a way, not a way out.
Alright guys, so one of the reasons that we got the Gelcoat Peeler wasn't just for our boat, it was also for little sister here, Stephen, Janet. And today's the day we're going to start doing the first bit of the peeling. So what I've done, because I've been using this on our boat, I have actually switched the blades around. So it's the first time I've switched the blades around so they've got a clean cutting edge. I was using them to go quite deep in fiberglass, so I've definitely dulled them off slightly. So that's the first thing we've done today is that. I've also adjusted the cutting depth back out, because once we start peeling here, we want to adjust it for the depth of the gel coat on this vessel. Gel coat and underpaint and barrier coats and all sorts. So it's probably going to be a bit of variation, because as you can see, this boat here has got various different levels. Some are still here, some aren't with us anymore. So, so we're going to see how it plays. So as I said, I've reset it, pushed it back out so it's a thinner cut than I've been using. So we're probably going to have to readjust it in a minute, but we want to give that a quick go. We've decided here, this is the original waterline approximately here. We're going to be cutting back to here, because at the front of the boat you can see the osmosis bubbles are actually in this area. So that's where we're going to go from, rebuild it with the epoxy. Then we're going to go into epoxy barrier coat, and then there'll be new anti-fouling paint. So let's give it a go and see how it works. I'll just get my mask on and we'll see what this cutting depth's like.
Not enough. So, what was that, babe? You needed a box?
Yeah, I needed to stand on something. Thanks for everybody. Eric, you'll love that. Bryn, you'll love that. All my friends that take the pee out of me because I'm little. Okay, so a little look at what we're doing. As I said, I've changed that a lot. We've got a lot more gel coat on our boat than this one. This very thin gel coat. Got it in this. I'm not sure if I want to adjust it. I might stick with it and then do a sand afterwards. I'm a bit in two minds. Thinking time.
So we did have someone ask if this tool can be used just to take off the bottom paint. What do you reckon after doing this?
I believe this tool can be adjusted to take off bottom paint if you've got a very even amount of bottom paint left on. Yeah. Like if your boat's been in and out of the water several times with several coats on it, I believe you could set it to leave the gel coat. I don't believe you could set it to leave, for example, like barrier coat, but I think you could leave it that you didn't take off the gel coat itself, just take off paint on certain boats in certain conditions. This boat here has been in the water, was it 7 years, Stephen? Yeah. So there's been a lot of hull scraping going on underwater with scuba gear, that sort of stuff, or free diving, and there's not much paint left. So I don't think on this boat we would be able to do it, but definitely on some boats.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've done a little bit of thinking, a little bit of examination. I've decided to go, I'm going to adjust the tool just maybe a quarter of a turn back towards the setting I had. I've adjusted it half a turn from what we were using on our boat. The gel coat's definitely thinner on this, but I don't want to leave too many of these patches because otherwise it's going to leave us a lot of work for afterwards. We're only down to the chop strand, so that's absolutely fine. Not seeing any evidence of any bubbles at the moment. There's nothing weeping. I think I can see some very small pinprick areas, but these are the areas as well that will dry out. That's why we're taking off the gel coat. Okay, so to change the cutting depth on this one here, so as I'm holding the tool, it's the blade here on the right hand side. You always work from the left to the right as you're going on the boat. It is possible to set it the opposite way, but that's the way it says in the instruction manual. So what we need to do is release this screw here, loosen this one here, and then there's a depth gauge, which is basically a little screw just in here, but we have to take this off to get to it. So that's kind of inconvenient, but I understand why it's there. By the way, all these tools are supplied with it, which is kind of handy because you've got all the right hex keys and everything else. One here. So this is the depth adjustment. So we want to go deeper, which means I need to screw the screw inwards. So I'm just going to go, let's get this in. We're going to go about a quarter of a turn, about that much there. And we pop it back together again. Simply slide it on.
So it can do up to 2.5 mil?
2.5 mil is what it says in the instructions. Anything between 0.6 millimeters and 2.5 millimeters. Someone will have to convert that into imperial for some of our viewers.
That's not too hard.
No. Alright, let me just pop these tools back on the table so I don't lose them.
Now Davy has 3 bricks in a row.
That's it.
Stand on. So it'll be perfect.
I love it how everybody gets so much entertainment about me having to stand on something.
What do you think?
It's going quite nicely. You can expect these are the areas where you've got osmosis. You see the different colorations?
Big ridges though.
There's some big ridges coming at the moment. I'm seeing that. The gel coat is very, very thin in places and very, very thick in places.
That's interesting.
Well, the boat's what, 34 years old?
Mm-hmm.
So technology has changed on how they laid up and stuff like that, and the molds and quality of tooling and stuff like
So
that.
we'll go back. I'll go back with the sander.
It'll be a sander job to go over it. It is
What type
leaving.
of boat is it, Stephen?
It's a Cadillac 10 meter by Tom Lack Multi-Hulls out of Christchurch, England. Yes. It's my little baby.
Little sister.
It's almost as old as I am. Yeah. Why is it called Little Sister? Because we had the larger version of this boat, a 42-footer. We lost it in a hurricane after 18 years. So we decided either we're going to stop cruising or we're not. We decided we weren't going to go to land, period. No way. So we looked around and we got the smaller version, which is this boat, which is, we called it Little Sister. Because as Janet says,
don't do what your big sister done.
so we're back cruising again. We've had this boat for 7 years. We bought it used, and we love it. We absolutely love it. It's an older boat, but we're not going fast. We just want to be comfortable. So there.
Alright, so I've been doing some editing this morning, getting stuff ready in here. I think we should go check out what the guys are doing downstairs. Let's go see.
Started to cut a bit weird.
What?
That one is not hitting the fiberglass. Excuse my friend. Okay guys, so we did 1 day of work here on Little Sister. Didn't get quite as much done as I thought or hoped we would on the first day. But you can see here we've gone along the side here, all the way along the top down to the crease. But I didn't quite get this side done on the lower level. Now a lot of this I put down, to be honest, to getting used to the tool. One, its weight, but mainly its adjustments. So there are different adjustments on the handle setting. So for example, when you first saw me working with on this area here, the handle setting was pretty good for this angle. But then once I got down here, I definitely needed to change the angle of the handles to make it better, so I was using the same cutting edge or same cutting position, if you will, but standing in a different position. So that was something to get used to. Other settings, if you mentioned, Stephen mentioned in this area here, he's now gone over it with a grinder and a sander. He was following after me, but there was the ridges. Can still slightly see. So there's different ridge markings that you get if the tool blade is not completely correct. So in this area, for example, this is the, let me think, sorry, left hand side blade needed slightly adjusting. Now I don't know why it should need adjusting, because nothing would have happened to it, but after I've adjusted that blade just slightly further out to zero it, if you will, then you get to a cut like this, which is a lot smoother. So there is very fine adjustments that can be done to improve the final cut so that you get left with less sanding at the end. Also in this area here, you're going to see multiple different tooth depths. So what I found with the different tooth depths, and it was actually quite frustrating at one point, Erica wanted to film it, and I told her, nah, not right now, I need to work out this tool. So I wanted to come back and explain it to you myself. Now what I found, I think it's probably easier if we go over to the tool and I'll show you there how the teeth are set and how they are and how I solved the problem, to get back to having from this, if you can see, multiple tooth ridges. Then it was just here one ridge, which is pretty much the same as the problem Stephen pointed out in this area to start with, but then the one edge, and then back to like a perfect cut, if you will. All right, so I'll show you the different things on the tool itself, so we can actually have a look at that. Maybe you can all learn something out of what I found during that day's work. Okay, so a little bit of a close-up view on the tool itself and the different issues that I had on the first day of doing sort of large areas of peeling. Let's first of all start off with what comes in the bag, because there's loads of stuff here. So you've got these are the adjustable sides here. There's a new set of those, so they obviously wear out, and I can see that there's a very slight flat spot on the edge here. So what I found, obviously you don't want to change these every 5 minutes, we've only got 2 sets of them, but what I found was quite important, especially when I changed angle, was actually the handles themselves. So there's just 2 Allen keys, one here, one here. Simply by cracking those open, you can change the angle of the setting that you're working the tool, and I found that very important when I went down onto the lower level and started working in this position rather than doing the down position. That was very important to adjust. The other bits that I had issues were, so let's start with the one Stephen pointed out first of all, was the quite deep ridge that we had when we very first started. Now the adjustment being on that one, so this is the adjustment on the cutting depth here on the right hand side, or my right hand side. Okay, so you saw me doing an adjustment here and showing how you can do the various depths to get the various different depths of cut, if you will, how much you're going to take off. Now on this side it has exactly the same adjustment, and what I needed to do is I needed to re-zero that. So basically what we needed to do was that's probably not the world's best edge, it's been used before. I needed to re-zero. This one was slightly too deep. So to get rid of that edge, what I did was open it up in exactly the same way as this. So one Allen key here and loosen this one. It means I could remove it. And do you remember I did the 1/4 of a turn? Just to change the cutting depth. Well, I did about an 1/8 of a turn on this one, bringing it further out. And next time I used it, put it back together and used it again, it got rid of that edge on the side and we had a beautiful cutting edge for a while. Now a little bit later on, I found a different issue. The issue being, I didn't have that deep ridge, but you could see the individual cutting blades, if you will. There's 4 blades, so 1, 2 here, and then, so what I call them actually is I call them blade number 1, blade number 2, blade number 3, and blade number 4. So it was looking like all of them were cutting at different depths. Now I'd already cut quite a lot, and remember what I'm cutting on this boat, it's not just the gel coat, but there's some very old bottom paint that's actually about 30 years old, the blue, and I think it's an extremely hard paint, so I think it's quite hard going on these. So what I had to do, and it was actually stressing me out a little bit, why isn't cutting, I haven't done anything wrong, I haven't dropped the tool, the blade shouldn't be dull yet. But after a bit of investigation, what I did is I took the blades off, so it's just a simple Allen key, not actually this one, but a simple Allen key here to open them up. And when I took them off, I noticed a very small build-up of the paint or whatever else that managed to get underneath the blade. So doing that, what I did is after taking the blades off, I just got my Dremel with just the small brush attachment, wire brush attachment, cleaned up the blade, cleaned up the surface, and then put the blades back on again. And being very, very careful to make sure that the blades, when they go on, they have to be exactly centered. Now, the way I did that, I can actually just release one here. I found it very important that once you were putting the blades back on, I know this is a dirty blade, but say for example I just put a blade back on and I'm going to tighten it. You can see it's loose here now. What I was doing is I'm working it in and out, in and out, in and out, because the screw actually centers it. So if you just tighten it down, it could be slightly off, but by having it nice and clean and just screwing it in and out, getting slowly tighter each time, that then ended up resetting the blades to exactly the right position. But as I said, it's important to keep it clean. This has now done quite a bit of work, so I'm actually going to strip all these blades off, clean them all up with a Dremel, and then put them back on again. Alright, so that's cleaned up the bottom of the edges. Now, this is a very light sanding wheel. They actually just fall apart, these Dremel ones. So this isn't aluminium. This is made of aluminium, this part of the tool. So you've got to be careful. I'm not I'm not pushing too hard on it. I don't want to wear this down and change the settings of the tool itself. I was just cleaning off the paint very, very lightly. I just want a flat, clean surface, because as I mentioned, it does seem to be that as using the tool, some stuff gets underneath. You saw that because it wasn't clean. I would have thought surely when it's clean, then it's clamped down, it should stay clean underneath. But this is quite a brutal tool, so it doesn't surprise me, some stuff gets underneath it. Also on the bottom of the blades, just polish those up so that this time I don't actually need to change the cutting blade. I'm still very happy with the cutting blade. I just want a clean tool to start the day. So what I'll do is I'm going to spin it around and I'm going to repeat the process just on the other side here. These little blades have got numbers around them, which makes it really, really cool. So you remember which cutting edge you're on. As I said, I didn't want to, this time I didn't actually want to change the cutting surface. I don't believe they cut that much that they're dull. Just wanted a clean tool. Again, just working it tighter seems to be the way to go. Also guys, I'm just telling you what I've learned on this tool, because I've only used it for a few days. This is the first time I've done large surfaces, like one stripe after the other. And I've used it a few times on my boat. But my boat, I wasn't, to be honest, looking for the accuracy I'm looking for on this boat. That due to the fact that on mine, I knew there's a big repair to be done underneath. So I'm going to have to do a lot of sanding and grinding and, you know, rebuilding of the fiberglass and whatnot. Whereas this one here, we want to try and keep it as smooth as possible, because we're just removing the gel coat for the sake of letting the boat dry. So we want a little amount of sanding, grinding and filling to do on this vessel. Obviously there will be some. So if there's someone out there watching that's done a lot of work with this particular tool, feel free to jump into the comments. Give us some advice, give us some more feedback. I'm sure there's other people that are interested in your comments as well. Alright, so that's a nice clean tool, ready and set hopefully for another day's work. Well, another few hours. I found I had to reset it a few times. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that little explanation, that first in this. It's going to be like a little bit of a mini series here doing the repairs for the Osmosis. So obviously first doing the peeling and then all the other coats and applications that come afterwards, so that we've got a boat ready to go back in the water. So this is the first part of it, and over the next few weeks here and there's going to be drying times and more peeling and stuff like that, but we'll definitely come back to it. So we'll just call this part 1 of the Osmosis repair.